ETF inflows continue accelerating at an incredible pace as Bitcoin hits all-time highs in collapsing fiat currencies around the globe. Plus, January's inflation numbers came in hotter than expected. New Zealand's central bank snitches on central banks all around the world. And we get to hear Michael Saylor's thoughts on why there is no second best to Bitcoin. Also, Peter Thiel's venture capital fund announces a major Bitcoin position. Does this signal Silicon Valley's renewed interest in Bitcoin? Bull market confirmed, anyone? Welcome to the Tuesday, February 13th edition of the Bitcoin Daily Show. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. Here at Swan, we're on a mission to educate the world about Bitcoin. So please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That'll help us break through the noise here on YouTube and teach more and more people about Bitcoin. Being a 90s baby, I wake up and check ESPN to see what highlights I missed while I was sleeping. Shohei Ohtani woke up and hit bombs in his first BP back from elbow surgery like nothing happened. Victor Wembanyama records a triple-double with 10 blocks. And he catches an alley-oop and dunks hanging on the rim, and he dropped 3 inches to land flat back on the ground. And I also woke up to see that Congress passed a $95 billion aid bill to fund Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan while we were all sleeping. Our elected officials and politicians are clearly more interested in defending our financial and political interests abroad than they are for the struggling Americans here domestically who are trying every day and paycheck to paycheck to make ends meet. January's inflation numbers came in hotter than expected, sort of like the fajita platter you ordered at your favorite Mexican restaurant, or the Starbucks cup of coffee that you can't actually drink for 30 minutes. Inflation increased 31 basis points and came down to 3.1%, with shelter, food, and energy prices being the main culprits for the increases. The media headlines about decreasing inflation are misleading for everyday Americans, because that doesn't mean that prices are decreasing. It means that they are increasing at a slower rate. At the current inflation rate of 3.1%, $100 will be worth $50 in just 24 years. And if you've ever wondered why, New Zealand central banker Adrian Orr snitches on the entire central banking industry and reveals the true wizard behind the curtain.
We actually fund ourselves and then work out what dividend is needed to pay. So we kind of it's a great business to be in, central banking. You print money and people believe it, and touch wood.
He admits that central banks fund themselves, set the dividend rate or the cost of capital, and then print money knowing that people will actually believe that they are in a just and fair system. Here's news for you, Adrian. People all around the world are starting to trust less and less in our fiat financial system and starting to trust Bitcoin more. Bitcoin has made new all-time highs in the Japanese yen, the Congolese franc, the Nigerian naira, the Egyptian pound, the Turkish lira, the Lebanese pound, the Argentinian peso, and 5 other currencies around the globe. And it's not just those other people somewhere else in the world. It's coming to the US as well, like Peter Thiel. His venture capital fund announced that they had made a $100 million purchase of Bitcoin. It's also Wall Street, as ETF flows continued accelerating yesterday. There were 494 million of net inflows, with GBTC outflows coming in at less than $100 million yesterday. There have been $3.14 billion of net inflows since January 11th when the ETFs launched, averaging almost $500 million per day. BlackRock and Fidelity are continuing to set the standard, as their Bitcoin accumulation puts them in the top 10 of all 3,400 ETFs trading. BlackRock is neck and neck with QQQ for the 3rd largest of flows for ETFs in the world. Why are people, retail and institutional, buying Bitcoin at such a historic pace? Well, Michael Saylor says it's because it's the most popular asset in the world. There is no second best.
Well, I think a lot of this is just indicative of the popularity of Bitcoin as an asset class. It's now the world's most popular investment asset. It's novel, it's digital, it's global, it's unique, and it's uncorrelated to traditional risk assets because it doesn't come with exposure to any given country, currency, company, quarterly result, product cycle, competitor, not to weather, not to war, not to an employee base or supply chain. And so that makes it a natural addition to the portfolio of a responsible investor. There's 10 years of pent-up demand. People have been waiting for these ETFs, and And finally, mainstream investors are able to access Bitcoin. And I think that's what's driving the surge of capital in the asset class. And initially, there was a rebalancing as people were moving capital between the futures market and the miners and MicroStrategy and the ETFs. But following that rebalancing, I think the assets found its footing. And now people are beginning to realize that there's 10 times as much demand for Bitcoin coming in through these ETFs as there is supply coming from the natural sellers who are the miners.
MicroStrategy continues to set the standard for what it looks like to operate on a Bitcoin standard, as their stock has outperformed even Bitcoin since August of 2020 when they adopted their Bitcoin-only strategy. Their stock is up over 38% the past 5 trading days alone. And my hunch says that they will issue more shares at this rich valuation to acquire more Bitcoin. Check out our Swan Signal Live episode with Preston Pish, where he dives into this strategy in more detail. Government leaders all over the world are failing to realize that the trust in their policy decisions and their fiat currencies are mispriced. They are all fundamentally overvalued to the scarcity of Bitcoin and its fair and ethical monetary policy. Let's take a second and zoom out. Since the St. Louis Fed has started to keep track of the carton of eggs priced in Bitcoin in 2015, the price of eggs has risen 19.4%. But the cost of eggs denominated in Bitcoin has decreased 99.4%. As Dr. Jeff Ross points out here, life gets more expensive as you save in dollars. Well, I'll expand that. Yen, naira, pounds, lira, pesos, whatever you save in, it gets more expensive. And it gets less expensive the longer that you save in Bitcoin. Don't be one of the people that central banker Adrian Orr says believes it. You see the wizard behind the curtain. Get out of the system now. Save in Bitcoin. And with that, we're closing for the day. This is Dante Cook with Swan.com. Happy stacking.
TikTok, next block, this is a major epoch. My C phrase, I keep locked. Don't worry about what we got. TikTok, next block, TikTok, next block, TikTok, TikTok, next block, TikTok, next block. Ain't no second best.